The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
In December of 1937, the world of cartoons as we knew it changed drastically. With his animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt Disney transformed the medium from being for only kids and only funny, with a series of masterpieces triggering fear, sadness, and eventually happiness. Despite how you may feel about him today, there's no doubt at one point, somehow, you were influenced by these movies. And so we invite you to chat with our panel as we discuss the inspiration springing from Disney's animated features right now on Dispatches from Outside the Box.
In the spaces, things exist. In the lines that form the network of your mind. Behind the retinas of imagination are the particles and peripherals that made you who you are. Turn off, shut your eyes, and listen to Dispatches from Outside the Box.
And welcome to the show that scours the corners of geekdom to inspire you to create outside the box. I'm C Michael Lanning, reminding you to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and enjoy all the great things we have right here on the Indie Comics Network. So tonight we're starting off with our first week of Disney December. And you know, Mitch, when I decided to do Disney in December, I did this like months ago. I had no idea that Walt Disney's birthday was December 5th. I had
Neither did I.
Yeah, I had no idea his death day was December 16th. And I also had no idea that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs actually premiered December 21st, 1937. So I guess I picked a pretty good month.
Sounds like you did.
Yeah.
And Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is coming up on its 100th anniversary. Can you believe that?
Oh, golly. Let's see. 1937. Oh, they're about almost
just a few
90
short
now.
years.
Golly, man. even though we weren't around when it came out, you know, it was still, I'm sure, like for you, it was always there, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's always after Disney World. Hi, I'm Mitch Rogers. I am a horror comic book writer, artist, creator, publisher from Greenville, South Carolina. I'm the creator of the Boger horror comic book series. 2 volumes of which are for sale right now if you want a little dark and scary Christmas gift to give to somebody. They're available on my website.
So if you were to choose an animated a Disney animated feature you'd want to watch again, that you could watch again, what do you think that would be?
Well, I was more of a fan of the non-fairy tale movies from Disney, like The Great Mouse Detective is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
By them, The Rescuers Down Under. But probably overall, the one I'll probably watch until the day I die is Fantasia.
Oh, really?
I mean, if you think of an animated movie that is a literal work of art in every aspect, it's Fantasia, in my opinion, at least.
I think I can appreciate Fantasia more now than I did when I was younger. It didn't appeal to me. I did see it in theaters. I remember that, not of course when it came out.
Fantasia
came out
2000.
Yeah, no, the original Fantasia, but back in the 80s when they were re-releasing them and everything. You remember in the 80s you would have them go into theaters, but so
I didn't have that because I was born in '86. So
I'm sorry, you totally missed out on that. That was right before the golden age of Disney, right?
I wasn't born until 1990. So
yeah, 1890. Yeah, that sounds.
That's a lie.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Yeah. So you met Nikola Tesla in person, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he said 1890, not me. But I would have loved to. That's a great Disney guy, that Tesla.
He would have been, right?
Yeah. So I'm Jared Lockhart. I'm a big pop culture nerd, comic book geek, Disney fan, despite all the haters. Because I don't care that they're gonna rule the world. I just worry about my childhood because I'm all about nostalgia. So if Disney makes it, odds are I'm probably gonna see it. I might not pay extra money, but I'm gonna.
You better say so. We are live. You just said we might not pay money for it. Yeah, Disney's gonna come after you for that.
Extra money.
Extra.
Yeah, right. Disney Plus, it's worth it. Shut up.
Oh my God. You gotta be careful. And this is what we're
it's
on
your
a very
money.
sensitive subject, right? I mean, we're talking about Disney, so hey, if we, just let you know if we go off, you know why. So,
I love Mickey.
Say nice things about it.
All four of us just strangely all have accidents in our homes and die.
We all die of a heart attack tonight. We'll know why.
Everybody dies as some way of a villain, like a villain from one of the Disney movies. So basically, you're all going to fall off of something.
I have a bizarre sort of desire to write a suicide note in someone else's handwriting and shoot myself in the back of my head, execution style.
That's a whole other thing. Rodney, you a Disney fan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I always joke that my Bible was Disney's Illusion of Life. Got it when I was probably 13 years old, and just scoured through it for years and years and years. Love that book. And I've been going and seeing Disney movies, since as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So who are you?
I am Rodney Fyke, by the way, folks. You can find me right here on the Indie Comics Network 3 nights a week. Thursday night Throwdown, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Sketchy Saturdays at 10 a.m. And, of course, here. You can go to the Hazzum.com, HAZZUM.com, and check out all of our books, Peanut Pudding and Jelly, Unchained, Pitter Patter, and Roadkill Rampage, and soon to be, in 2023, Doghouse.
Yes, absolutely. But, you mentioned Sketchy Saturday, and I think somebody found their way from over there to come join us tonight.
Look who it is.
Hi. Hello.
Hey, John.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. So I'm the oldest guy here, I guess. I actually worked with some of those guys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, go ahead. Introduce yourself. Tell us about it.
Okay. I'm John Celestri. I'm a classical 2D animator, and I remember the days when you could count all the feature films on 2 or 3 hands.
Wow.
In there maybe.
Toes, right? Oh yeah. Let's put it this way. At one point, it was like Star Wars when you just had episode 4, 5, and 6. It was Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia, and Dumbo.
Yeah. let's see. I think Cinderella came out in 1950. There was some space in between there.
Oh, yeah. There was a long time in between, because of the war and just the way the circumstances were. I mean, they made a lot of, films, were short pieces,
Yes.
and then also they made shorts and that were buttressed by bookended with live action, especially one that is not to be mentioned together, called Zippity Doodah.
No, yeah, that one I was working on the live action, because next week we're doing the family features, and that one I kind of had to omit that one. Yeah. However, we will kind of start. We will
just
bring
replace it with Roger Rabbit.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go. Even that one's now controversial. Right?
Well, actually, if you look at just take the animation segments alone, those can just work just by itself. They're stories just by themselves. They're shorts. They're 7-minute segments. Some of the best animation to come out of the studio.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically
character animation.
They influenced everybody in the world.
Yeah.
All the anime guys. I can't remember the guy who did Astro Boy, but Walt Disney was a huge
Osamu
influence.
Tezuka.
Yes.
That's why we keep
huge influence. Well, even if I did, I probably would have said it wrong.
Yeah.
No,
I probably said it wrong, so don't feel bad.
Well, the whole deal was that Disney wanted to do something to affect people. He wanted to affect people's emotions other than laughing with Snow White. And that's why Snow White is in the style that it's in, because they were afraid that trying to do it in just kind of a cartoony style, you wouldn't be able to invoke the fear and the sadness and everything, that the emotions that it did. So they tried to go as realistic as they possibly could. And it just, I think it says like 200,000 drawings for that movie.
Oh, so, for what?
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah. I think you undercounted by 10. I mean, there's 7 dwarfs, 24 frames a second. They're all on ones. Right there is 1,440 drawings times 7 for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you have all the other drawings, the stuff that goes on. Yeah. I'd like to just not dovetail, but add a little context to why the Disney the feature, the Snow White, happened.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
He was making great. Mickey Mouse was gangbusters. He was like Chaplin, in the silence. So they were the artwork and the animation that Disney was doing was just phenomenal. But in shorts, he could only get paid so much for the rentals. And so the whole idea is, well, if he put together the same, 10 shorts, he could make a feature film.
Right. Okay.
And so that's basically what it was to, he figured, okay, let me plow the money. So they budgeted for, 10 shorts and whatnot, and they added a little extra. Well, boy, he underestimated it tremendously. Oh, yes,
a little bit.
I think
really, he really did. I think the budget wound up being like something like $1 million, $1.2 million in 1930 money. You're talking about
what is that with inflation?
1930 back then during the Depression time was a ton of, especially since the average salary was about $18 a week.
Yeah.
The estimated version, the estimated budget was $1.499 million.
Yeah, in 1930 dollars. But he actually made $8 million on that in 1930 money.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
People don't flock to the theater like that anymore.
No,
Yeah.
and that's on.
Well, that was the only
10 cents.
entertainment.
That's with 10-cent admission. That's what it
Yeah.
was. So, but anyway, and in the 1930s, he was able to get the cream of the crop in terms of all the young talent that was in the United States, because only a handful of studios could to hire artists during the 1930s. I mean, you had the project administration or something, WPA. Hiring artists to do murals and do something. Especially Rodney. In Union Terminal.
Oh my God! All the textile stuff.
Yeah. So
for those who aren't familiar, there's a train terminal here in Cincinnati, Ohio, that is called the Union Terminal. It was built in 1939, and it is the quintessential example of Art Deco architecture in this country. And the murals that they put in this train station are from floor to ceiling, and they are stunning. And they're all murals of
floor to ceiling is like huge. I mean, you thought cathedral ceiling.
Yeah, we're talking like 30 to 40 feet.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. If you've been to Grand Central Station in New York, that is its only rival, in my opinion. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So if any of you ever come to Cincinnati, let me know and I'll take you down there.
Yeah,
I might just for that.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I love art.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It's so basically, nobody had ever really seen this much work go into a cartoon before, right? I mean, this was like painstaking. They were.
Yeah, well, they did. They planned it. They planned doing it for in like 3 years to do it, and actually, most of the work was done. You had the experimental stuff. He was getting artists from all over. Every studio that he could raid that had it wasn't so much raiding is that he would hire away the top people, but they still had to go through the Disney mill. It was a really interesting thing that people will do. It planned. It was a lot of planning that went into it.
No doubt.
Well, no, I heard these guys, they were put through art classes, because these were people who already knew how to draw. They were put through art classes, lectures on cubism, lectures on all sorts of different things.
Yes. The Don Graham, he started Chenard, which became Cal Arts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, but basically, the art, the live figure drawing started at Art Babbitt's house, because he was one of the animators at Disney, and he wanted to get, he was big into learning, analysis. He was the Goofy guy. He
created Goofy.
Goofy. He took there was a Dippy dog, which was the one character, and he actually gave him personality, and he wrote a whole psychological. He wanted to be a psychiatrist himself.
Really?
Yes. This is 1920s, 1930s. He had to find a way to make money to feed a family, and that was no way of doing it. So he wound up being he's a Kansas boy, and he wound up his family wound up in New York City, and he wound up being at Terrytoons, where they did the Aesop fables, and that's where he met Bill Teitler, and these were friends. It's a whole. You could go through a whole half hour, a whole hour just on that. Circumstances.
I know we're going to touch on Art Babbitt later on in the series.
Yeah,
because there's a whole thing there about Art, and his time at Disney Art.
Yeah.
That went down. But because they were bringing in models and everything, and
at his house, it was in his house, and Disney said, well, I hear that you're bringing these nude models into your house now. It wouldn't be good or very good for a family that a studio that's doing family entertainment, bring nude people into your house and you're drawing. And so why don't we just use one of our backstage?
So we bring them into the studio.
Yeah, so they brought them to the studio and had the sound stage, and they had their classes there. That became a regular thing that everybody was encouraged to go and study.
Oh yeah.
After putting in a full 10-hour day.
And that became a tradition, right? I mean, that from then on forward, every time they had a movie, there was intense study that goes into this. They've even taken people that I don't think they've taken animators to Africa, but they brought like for the Lion King, I remember seeing when I was a kid, actual animals, and to study them and running them and everything. So
Bambi, that's when they started doing Bambi. They did that with the fawn.
Yes. And if you look at that animation, it's amazing. Just the way that it still has that cartoon element, but it has a realism to it that it's uncanny, is what it is.
It's beautiful to this day.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Like the backgrounds, the way that the backgrounds were filmed, they were kind of stacked on top of each other, right? They were
multiplane. The multiplane camera. And he developed it. It was about a 2-story high, camera. Yeah. And that way, you could raise and lower the area. The camera didn't go down. What happened was that there's a shot. There are Google it up and you'll see. How high the camera was. It took about, I think, 7 men to work it.
My gosh.
Wow.
Let's see. Carl, Carl. Carl says, which Disney animation was the first to show parallax motion using different levels of cells?
You mean like the the turntable? That's Max Fleischer. He used models and he rotated the model scenes, and then the camera was stationary, the animation was stationary, but it wasn't flat. It was horizontal, perpendicular to the ground, and so you would shoot that and then crank the turntable. Yes. I was going to do the turnstile, but it was a turntable, and it would rotate the models, so you get the perspective. And so that's and they did that with first with the Popeyes in the 1935 with Sinbad the Sailor.
Oh yeah.
So he did featurettes, 15-minute feature. That's what he was doing. That's what a Fleischer was doing.
Right.
He was the only competitor to Disney at that time.
Well, Disney was studying them. He was, in fact, was Felix the Cat Fleischer?
Felix the Cat? No, Felix the Cat that was Pat Sullivan.
Okay.
And that's out of New York City also. That was all. Most of the animation was in New York for the longest time, and it was Disney who started up in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, and then but also Warner Brothers was because Disney actually was before Warner Brothers. He was doing his Alice comedies and then doing his Oswald the Rabbit.
Yes. Well, that's what I was thinking, because I was trying to remember. Oswald the Rabbit was kind of a response to the popularity of Felix. And they didn't want to do another cat, so they ended up doing a rabbit. And then later on they did a mouse. So.
Yes. Ricky Rat. Yes, Ricky Rat.
But yeah, that's a Mad reference, isn't it? Or
Well, yeah, I think I'm going off of the Mouse. Was it the Mouse Factory? There's a book called The Mouse Factory. And Ricky Rat is the is the star. I think.
Oh, okay. But, so you said your first Disney movie that you remember, the animated movie that you remember seeing in theaters.
Is that a general question for everybody or me?
Yeah, sure. You go ahead, take it. Everybody's going to get a chance.
Okay. Mine is I'm 4 years old, and so that's 1953, and so my dad takes me to a movie house, and I'm skipping along and telling everybody, "Hey, we're going to a movie," and they say, "Oh, that's nice, kid. That's nice, Johnny." And I remember it was Pinocchio. Now that's my introduction to animation, and I remember it specifically because there is this guy in a big, a handlebar mustache and the big fat guy and yelling.
Stromboli,
yes, it's Stromboli.
Yeah, Stromboli.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is because he ends up putting in in Pinocchio the fox and what was it, a cat, right?
Yeah.
Anybody could correct me at any point in time.
Yeah, it's a fox and a cat. Yeah.
It's a fox and a cat, right? And so they're kind of like they're the only two animals aside from the boys turning into donkeys. Spoiler alert. Later on, right?
I'm gonna say
they're the only animals in Pinocchio. Well, except I guess you had Jiminy Cricket, and I'm not counting Figaro. I'm not counting Figaro or the I can't remember the fish's name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the only.
What was the whale's name?
I'm sorry?
Is it Giganto?
The whale.
The whale.
Monstro. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought it was funny that the fox and the cat are walking around humans. They're like the only anthropomorphic animals that are interacting with other people. And it's like no one's like, oh my God, there's a walking fox.
It's almost like saying, "Oh, not to trust these," right?
Well, listen, you've got a wooden boy walking around. So who's going to say, "Hey, what the hell"?
That doesn't happen. That's not realistic.
Well, I've never read the book, but I hear in the book Pinocchio is like a really unlikable brat.
Yeah,
like he's just completely unlikable.
He kills Jiminy
I'm a
Cricket.
real boy.
He steps on him. He steps on the cricket because the cricket was too much of a conscience for him, so he just steps on him.
Oh my God!
Remember, this is Italian fairy tale, so
You just imagine Joe Pesci playing Pinocchio.
Yeah. Well, yes.
What do I look wooden to you?
Homemade Jiminy Cricket.
So that probably would not have translated well back in 1940 America. And Pinocchio just got they were trying to figure out a way, and I don't know how they did. I just remember trying to make him likable, trying to make Pinocchio likable, and I think they kind of bared down on his naivety, more than anything to really make him likable. But he was still a brat.
He wasn't as bad as in the book, though.
Right, but what you going to do? I mean, you just came to life. You meet a fox and a cat on the way to school. You already have a talking cricket, right? So, I mean, you kind of understand. Yeah,
he's traumatized.
Right. Not long afterwards, you get put in a show. You've got stardom. You got fame. The cat
produce.
Yeah.
Well, he gets but he's in the cage. That's it,
Oh, right.
He gets slammed in the cage, and he still has to lie. He still feels compulsion to lie and have that nose grow.
But all this time, he was human after all.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
That's what I'm saying. You're trying to have a good heart and everything. I guess you didn't want to give the keys to somebody unless they knew how to drive, right?
Yeah.
So that's the case there.
Yeah.
Rodney, what animated movie you recall?
I can't remember which one was first, but the two that stick out the most going and seeing as a kid, actually now there's three of them. I think the first one was Robin Hood, and there was Robin Hood, the Jungle Book, and then the 101 Dalmatians that were really close together. And again, this was the mid 70s. So
yeah, no, when they were released, I think I don't know. Let me find out when they came out because
101 Dalmatians is first in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the other one that you were?
Jungle Book.
Robin Hood and Jungle Book.
Jungle Book came in, that was the last one that Disney, that was in the 60s also. And Jungle that's Jungle Book, and then Robin Hood came in the 70s.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder they couldn't be too far apart because they used the same cells for both of those movies.
They traced it. That was Wooly Reitherman, who was directing, took over. He was given the job to direct the animation. I was chosen by Walt to supervise stuff, and he, at that time, animation was on the downturn totally, So he was going to make use of why he said his idea was we worked out. You see, back then you didn't see everything had access to it. You'd have to remember what happened 10 years earlier.
Right.
To be that kind of, and we didn't have, there weren't the fanboys and fangirls of Disney's as what they have now, where they could, they have everything at the.
If it helps the job, I'm gonna cheat a little bit too. So
yeah.
Well, especially economical too, because it saves money on having to draw from scratch.
Figure it out again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at that point in time, so Walt, when did Walt pass? In
66.
66, right? So Jungle Book was the last one that he probably had anything to do with, and that he worked on. So when you get into Robin Hood, you're still trying. They're still. I guess, was Roy still alive? Roy Disney?
I think he was, because I think he got Hepcot going.
Right.
Really, and then also and the Florida, Disney World there,
right,
going.
So you're looking at, so that's one thing, you have money funneling into Disney World, and it's a
Disneyland and Disney World, you had that there, and the Wonderful World of Disney.
Yep.
TV
that was a staple on Sunday nights, man.
Yeah. Was that was still coming on even after Disney passed, huh?
Yeah. When I was a kid, it was on every Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they kind of revived it when I was little too, because I remember
they did. It was Michael Eisner was
wasn't it Saturday night or was it Sundays?
I think I remember it
was Sunday night. Yeah,
but I think it did move around also. But it
I was usually watching Simpsons and X-Files on Sundays.
I remember being a kid and watching the Wonderful.
That was the Wonderful.
It's always the Wonderful World of Disney. But I remember as a kid sitting there watching this guy who spoke funny talk about going on manned missions to the moon and Mars. Little did I realize that it was Braun.
It was
Werner von Braun.
Oh, him, yeah.
Who was the created the V1 rockets for the Third Reich, and he was part of the Operation Paperclip that brought them all over to work on the U.S. space program. And he
Soviets did it too.
I'm not casting shade. I'm just
I know. I'm just
and
history lesson.
He was on Disney, the Wonderful World of Disney, talking about the flight and the moon and how the moon, the spaceship would orbit around the moon and get to trajectory and be slung around and stuff like that. And it was really cool. And I was like, why does he sound funny? How come, God, I'm like 5 or 6 years old, He's got a German accent. I didn't know what it was, but all the years later, fast forward 20 years, and realize who he was. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, that kind of
sounded funny.
Well, that's kind of, but that kind of fits into Disney's MO, though, doesn't it? It was always pushing forward, always innovating, always looking to looking to what was next, really, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he invented the green screen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a blue screen back then.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, like Alice, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they
Mary
use blue
Poppins?
screen still. So
What did they use with Alice?
They shot it. It was it was different because they shot her in front of just a white, a screen. It was just a thing. And then because everything was black and white, so she didn't move. She didn't stand. She just stood in one place. And then what they would do then is run rotoscoping had already been invented by Max Fleischer for Coco the Clown in 1917 or whatever it was. So,
I love that retro name too, rotoscope.
Rotoscope. Yeah, but he also, so he had done that, and so you would, bypack things, because he was doing the out of the inkwell, which is you had, your film, and then you put your cells on top of it, and you bypack everything, and in the lab, you would do that. So there was a lot that you could do with matting back then,
which is kind of interesting because you think about that and you think, okay, you had kind of this chronological snobbery as it is, where you're like, they weren't doing that kind of stuff back then. Like, maybe Mary Poppins, they put her in the cartoon, but they weren't doing that. And you go back and you see that was actually what kind of elevated Disney to be able to make enough money to move forward to really start the studio, right? It was those Alice shorts.
Yes. Well, you see, what you had here was that prior to Mary Poppins, what you had was cartoon characters acetate that was superimposed onto live action film.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins are live action are actors superimposed into a cartoon setting. That's a completely different method and need and way of putting elements together. So you have that sort of thing where the cartoon characters again, like was it Anchors Away or whatever it is with Jerry the Mouse and Gene Kelly dancing with each other. That's the 1940s.
Whoa. Yeah.
I
I remember seeing clips of that. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So
it's hard to believe that was 1940.
In 1945,
yeah, that's
1946. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You say that, and you're thinking, well, we really ought to be further now. I mean,
the thing is, it was probably a lot harder back then.
The aspect of it is really, very. There's technology, and yet, I think, the story is secondary to technology today.
Yeah.
That's because it looks good, so it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Avatar.
But see, like when you came up with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, though, it wasn't the fact that it didn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like he relied on it's almost like he relied on the animation to convey the feeling, but he didn't rely on the animation to be the story.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's no. You're acting. It was the first time you can't have card. That was his problem. Well, his challenge, and he knew that you can only have so much time. And an audience will only sit through so much of what would be entertaining in a short period of time. A cartoon short be one thing, but you had to have story. But for story to work, you had to have the characters be believable. And if you look at those characters in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, there is danger, there is sympathy, there's comedy, there's pathos, there is death at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
There is death, that has not been seen, and it scares the hell out of people, at kids.
Yeah, I heard that they were actually had children crying.
Yeah.
But wait, which part?
Especially the pedophilia part. That was always scary in those Disney films.
What are you talking about?
Because they were all girls, and the princes were a lot older.
I'm talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, I know. Well,
what kind of what's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs are you watching?
Well,
I think you downloaded the wrong one there, huh?
Let me turn it off.
What I remember from Disney,
let me turn
they
it
looked
off.
about the
Sorry.
same age.
I'll turn it off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, well, let's take into consideration. I don't think there was ever given an age. I know what you're saying, though. Like they're viewed as 14. I don't remember Snow White ever having a particular age, as it were.
No, no.
Yeah, I think you like maybe Judy Garland, 14 years old, like Wizard of Oz type of thing. But like even if she was that age, the prince was probably as close to that age also at that point. So.
Well, you also have to remember marrying age was maybe about 15 back in the days for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Well, all those eras that they took place in, they were a lot younger.
Very yes, much more. So there was that's all. Yeah, but also just the whole way. There is no way that that Snow White looks anything prepubescent. She's of age.
Yeah,
because if I remember correctly, isn't it the fact that she's, golly, it's been a long time since I've watched it, but isn't the fact that when she comes of age is when the mayor changes his opinion of who's the fairest?
I don't know. You have to go back to the Grim Fairy.
Maybe that's why.
Actually, go through that.
14. Hey, okay, but in what? Is that the Disney?
In which
show?
adaptation?
Disney. She's 18. We'll just put her at 18 for the Disney.
She looked at least 18 to me. I have no idea what you're watching.
Yeah, I've never watched it and thought anything other than the fact that she was a young lady. I never viewed her as a kid.
Well, we don't because of the way she was drawn. Because she was very adult-like.
That's why I thought she was an adult.
Yeah,
exactly.
Same thing with all of them. Aurora, they were all depicted older than what they actually were.
Aurora.
But you also got to keep in consideration
Sleeping
too
Beauty.
at this time, this day and age. Also, you had kids coming back from war. They were in factories at 9, 10 years old, whatever the case is. 14. It's not really I'm even talking about the medieval times when this set up. But
yeah, well, listen here in Kentucky, its marrying age was maybe 14 back then.
Yeah, my grandparents got married at 16 and 17.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Louisiana because it gets a lot younger.
I wasn't trying to bring down the room,
Jared.
Damn, man. So, Jared, what was your favorite movie? What was your favorite Disney movie?
As a child, it was Dumbo. It was very relatable. I don't have big ears, but I was always the odd man out, So, and that memorable circus scene whenever Dumbo got into the alcohol, I never understood how alcohol could do that to you.
Yeah, well,
and then I wondered if it was laced with something else.
Well, maybe it affects elephants differently.
I mean, that was a brilliant sequence altogether. That part will forever be in my brain just because of the artistic genius of it all. It was just the score, the animation. It was beautiful.
The elephants on parade. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a crazy, wonderful. I mean, it's mind blowing because they actually, they really went all out on it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Just beautiful animation altogether in that film. I mean, you can pick apart any Disney film and say, no, this one had the best animation, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that stuck to me, like C was saying with the human or animal anatomy, the way they did it is just top notch in any of those films, and just the birds and Dumbo, all of them. They were just brilliant.
Yeah.
I think about that. You actually had to make an elephant fly.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they weren't throwing elephants around.
Yeah.
I find
the way his trunk twirled around that feather. I mean, I was just artistic. You know, it wasn't just holding it. It was like wrapped around the feather. I thought that was awesome.
They did a lot of thinking before they were given the time and the people in charge and the way the development. There was time. It wasn't just cranked out, and it wasn't just. Here's the difference: those features were drawn in the story department. They weren't typed by a writer.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Dumbo's emotions. He was just wearing it.
But they were drawn. Yeah. First, you went with the drawing of what is your beat, what is your story beat, and you would tell it that way. You'd fill in dialogue later. How much dialogue is there? Not much. There's not a lot of exposition, and there's not a lot of Eddie Murphy or Stan Lee kibitzing to fill up the air.
Oh no, yeah. Well, then you had to keep everybody's attention because Dumbo didn't talk. Everybody else around him talked.
Yep.
But you had to keep your attention on him. And it was about him.
Yep.
But I don't think that mattered when you're watching Dumbo. I mean, yeah, the mouse talk, you had the crows and everything here, but you were still engaged with him because if anything, the movements, the expressions, and everything had you engaged. Mm-hmm. Was this? Let's see. So Fantasia, it used classical music. It really wasn't. It wasn't. It didn't pass the critics very well. It might have been beautifully drawn, but they were kind of. I don't know. There was some kind of controversy because he used classical music. I don't know. But this is But you had the. But that was your emotion. That was your key to emotion, right, on Fantasia, as opposed to Dumbo's the first one. Bambi was the first one, huh?
You had It was in release. It was basically Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia, and then Dumbo.
He had a lot of writing on Fantasia. He put his heart into that one too.
Oh yeah,
and it bombed at the time. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. When you're a child, as the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he wanted to do a Mickey Mouse thing with. He wanted to bring Mickey Mouse up because they had gone down, in terms of popularity. So he wanted to bring him back up, and use him.
It worked because it's still an iconic image of Mickey Mouse in the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, when I was a kid, that was probably the only segment that I was interested in. To be completely honest with you, it was
for me. It was probably that one and the Walpurgis one at the very end.
That was scary, Mitch, and I could totally understand why that would be your movie. The dance of the devil. So I don't even have to ask you, right? So Fantasia, was that the first one you saw, or
the first one I saw, or the first one I saw in theaters?
First one you saw,
because the first one I think I saw was probably one of the early ones that came on TV when I was like a baby.
Yeah.
Probably could have been Snow White, could have been Jungle Book. I really don't remember. The first one I saw in theaters was Lion King.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. No. Lion King or Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Whichever one of those. Okay, it was Aladdin because I saw both of them in the theater.
Aladdin. That was the golden age of. That was the golden. Was it the golden age of this? They have like eras.
The Renaissance.
Disney.
That's the Renaissance. The golden age is pre-World War II, and then you had the Renaissance.
Beauty and the Beast was the first one I saw in theaters. Now that I remember, because Beauty and the Beast came first.
Are you sure? You sure it wasn't a Little Mermaid?
No, because I never wanted to watch that movie.
I was like 13 when that came out, and I am not gonna lie, I cried.
And
Little Mermaid. I was 13, I think, when it came out. Younger? I don't know.
Man,
I cried. I
was a grown man when I saw Wall-E in the movies, and I sat there and cried like a baby. I'm the only grown man there by myself seeing Wall-E.
I see that just goes to show you. It didn't really matter. It got to a point where in animation, it didn't really matter that it looked realistic anymore. It was definitely you were able to get past that and watch the story. Mm-hmm. But I think about it, kind of the way comic books are considered now, or I guess it's kind of coming up, but kiddie stuff, and that was the same thing he was dealing with cartoons at that time, is the idea that it's just for kids or it's quirky or whatever the case is.
Okay, that's an interesting point. That's something, John, that I wanted to get John's perspective. John, back in the day, what did adults go see Disney
yes.
Without the children?
Oh, well, first of all, you all the package cartoon shorts, okay, were part of a package deal that would come, with all the films. Okay, that's how they worked it in the theaters. This is all pre-TV, okay?
Right.
Disney knew. He says, if I only made cartoons for kids, I'd go out of business. So therefore, he had something for everybody.
Okay.
But then again, families went to the theaters together. Mm-hmm. How many families go together unless it's to go to a kiddie show? Because you don't have the ability to have general films that are not other than comic book, like Marvel or the DC superhero stuff. It's really hard to bring a whole family together to watch a movie. So, but that's what you would do. So you would go to you would see a cartoon. Everybody went to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Everybody went there. Everybody went to see Bambi. Everybody went to see the Fantasia and Pinocchio and Dumbo. They all went to it. But also, people would watch the cartoons because Warner Brothers, for example, it's very adult or not, not even adult oriented, but adults could sit there and laugh at it.
Right.
And the kids could too.
Yeah. It had that double entendre humor.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I was just thinking like beforehand, because that's he was still trying to overcome that where animation could trigger emotion outside of, comedy. Yeah. And I'm talking about before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
No. Disney was the first one to make it dramatic. He was the first one to do that. There, in terms of a story like that, there's it actually with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Probably it is the most the greatest solid example of storytelling that you're going to see in animation or in any film, because you have a definite. It starts fast. There's danger all the way through. You have comedy, and then you have this incredible finale, and it's all with drawings, and it's all music.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's music in it. So but in terms of the character, you have a major character is Grumpy, who starts as a woman hater and grows to accept and then becomes the most the saddest one, crying at the there. And that was and his character changes. That is basically drama.
To not so grumpy
story arc.
Yeah. Right. They're not so grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he went from grumpy to grieving.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Hey, clear something up for me. I understand that one of the reasons Don Bluth left Disney, was because they weren't dealing with darker elements anymore, or No.
I don't know because I wasn't there. I mean, I worked.
Yeah.
I was at Bluth's on the Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, and for a short period of time on American Tail, but I don't know. He thought that Disney he wanted to go back to the way Disney was being, more traditional stories, and he wanted to do the fantasies, and he wanted to do, he was very much technical, very much into the technical aspect of animation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was just kind of curious because I've heard that before, and I wasn't sure how much it. Okay, because at that, what is that? The 70s, I guess 60s, 70s.
That was the 80s when he left.
He left in
He
left about 1979.
79. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. Yeah. They were doing like
Secret of Nim was, I think, 81, 82.
Yeah. Yeah. It took him a while. He walked out with half of the staff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And and those are the people and he was going to be taking over the whole production, but he didn't want to. He wanted to do it his way, and so he walked.
He did.
He did.
Hey, it worked for Image also.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking because I was curious at the time, looking at what was there, and back in the 70s, you had the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You had Robin Hood, the Aristocats, which is a favorite. I've never particularly cared for that one.
Wife loves it.
Pretty. It's funny because I liked Lady and the Tramp, which is Lady and the Tramp. It was. I don't know. It didn't have necessarily.
It was a love story.
Yeah. It really was, right? I mean, so it wasn't really something that I remember having that VHS when I was, I don't know, 6. Oh my gosh, it might be older than that. 6, 7. I'm trying to remember when VHS, because you remember VHS used to cost like a whole bunch of money.
Oh yeah. They were $50 a piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like maybe 8, 9. But I remember having that movie and I watched it religiously, and it has a very the vibe. What's really interesting about these animated features is the way that they take the times and they play so much a big part in the animation style. Like Lady and the Tramp is what, the 1930s, 1950s.
Yeah.
It takes place in the 1950s as well, right?
I don't even know that.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Because it's a very timeless thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think all those were pretty timeless. The modern ones were kind of timeless. They could be set in any time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 101 Dalmatians is definitely the 60s.
Yeah, it's dated. Just the fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. I was
car.
thinking that when I said 50, I was like, no, it was more like 80.
Well, you forgot Peter Pan.
Yeah,
okay,
Peter
it was
Pan and Alice in Wonderland.
And Alice in Wonderland, yeah.
Yeah.
Swan
Look, now to let you know,
$50.
I paid $80 plus shipping for VHS.
Yeah, that's
it was
that's
expensive. True. Oh my god,
it was like a whole paycheck in 1982, man. Hell no.
You actually remember,
was low.
Those commercials. Build your VHS library.
Yeah, well, this wasn't even 80. This was,
you gotta steal them.
85, 86. You basically
I had an uncle that made his own VHS library. He just taped them off HBO.
There you go. Yeah, well. But
please, HBO, don't hurt me.
You had to.
Well,
but no, Lady and the Tramp was the time period Lady and the Tramp was set in was 1910.
Okay.
Huh. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I just don't remember. I just don't remember it because the characters. The Italian, the restaurant owner and the caricatures were such that they could have been anywhere.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think why it stands out to me is just because it has that old timey feel, like it should have a barbershop quartet on each corner. Something, something around those lines.
Yeah.
Right? Like Disney World, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's take a couple of bumps, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Oh, hello there. You just caught me in the middle of making a drink. While I'm doing that, here's a disembodied voice that'll talk to you about what this commercial is about. Thanks, sellout me. Shots with Comics is a podcast with artists and writers Chad Perkins, Kit Bonitis Jaspering, and Blake Matthias. They'll give you a brutally honest review of the comics they are reading. Do they love it? Do they hate it? They'll tell you while drinking their traumas away. If this sounds terrible, then join us at Monday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Indie Comics Podcast Network for this aggressive comedy review show. And
it is difficult to write these words, but I must for my own sake. I have done, seen, and been part of many things in my life.
Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comic Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
All right. So
here we are.
Talking about VHS, I do remember now Disney utilizing VHS not only for the whole movies, but the sing-alongs. They used to actually come out with, remember?
I've still got some.
Well, they were the next best thing. If you couldn't get the movie and it was still, sometimes it was still in theaters and they'd come out with sing-alongs.
Yeah.
So you get the music or whatever the case is with the little bouncy ball. And
they were cheaper too.
Who was the Professor Duck?
Ludwig von Drake.
Yes, he would be there to. He would be there to. He was kind of the shorts in between them sometimes.
Yeah,
kind of direct to it. But they really, and that's the thing. A lot of people kind of sit there and go, "Was there ever a Disney animated movie that didn't have music?"
Yeah,
and there was.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make a difference, though?
Better.
Yeah, for me, better too. Yeah.
Really?
Sadly, I will sing along all day long, but I'm not a big fan of them.
What is the irony in this?
They're
Mitch
just catchy.
says it was better without music, but his favorite one was Fantasia.
Because
it was nothing but music.
Well, it was basically a cartoon concert,
Yeah.
I mean,
if it was an opera too, it still would be better. It's just I've never really gotten into musicals. Like you have story, then all of a sudden a random musical number, and I can't really place it, but that always kind of bugged me. I was always annoyed by musicals. I don't know why.
I blame
Me too.
So then you don't like any of the Fred Astaire shows. You
No.
don't go. You don't watch. You don't go to Broadway.
No. Well, I mean, I live nowhere near New York, so
Well,
I
I see
can't
that
go to
next year I'm
Broadway.
going to have to find a whole new dispatches crew to come and talk about musicals. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
I mean, I will say, and I'm not doing this because John's here, but I do like rock and roll.
Oh, okay.
If you want
Because
to talk about musicals,
actually-
they had that Cats remake. We could talk about that all day.
Well, yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
rock
yeah,
and roll.
But because that is about a rock and roll,
Yeah.
Band trying to make it. And
Yeah.
it's an
It
integral
wasn't
part
like
of the,
they just randomly broke into song. The songs are usually part of the story,
right.
like they're on the stage playing, or
I think it
forgot
depends on the
villain of that
property,
movie was,
you know.
showing the girl, his music or something. It
Yeah.
kind of fit along with the story. It wasn't just, hey, I want to
Well,
sing
this-
about my feelings for 2 minutes.
Well, that wasn't all Disney movies, though. Yeah, that had an occurrence. But even with like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Hi Ho wasn't just because they broke out in the song. It was because they were coming home from work. Hi Ho.
It was basically your slave song. It's your work song. That's the way. But then again, you don't remember when it was done. That people wanted that. People were not inundated by. They didn't have things in their ears that followed them everywhere they went with music.
Right.
They wanted to have their money's worth, which meant that was what they were expecting. There was something there that they needed. And remember, it's also the Depression. You needed to have something of that sort. And so that that generation goes all the way through. But you notice how it changes after a certain point. After 20 years of that, you're into the 1950s, and it's getting it starts getting really old hat. Then. Yeah. So.
Well, also at the time that came out, musicals were really big at the time.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you look at it. Okay, so let me see here. Even still, like say Robin Hood. Robin Hood doesn't really have. It has the song. It has the whistling song. I can't remember the kind of Robin Hood and Little John, and it was just kind of. But that was a minstrel thing, right? I mean, that's tolerable, right? I mean, that kind of fits to the whole thing.
But it was really tired. Robin Hood is tired.
The point. Well, okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, Robin Hood is tired. It's
like
tired wood.
So what do you think? Okay, so if that's the case, then what Disney movie that did not have music was better?
I've always liked The Rescuers Down Under.
Far better movie than the first.
It had John
have a song
Candy
attached to it, though.
Can't remember because I'm trying to think of the movie. I don't remember an actual musical number in it.
Every time I try to think of an animated Disney film besides Black Cauldron, I can't think of any that doesn't have a jingle.
Yeah, I can't.
And I know there are, but I just can't think of any.
Well, you have some of the later ones I didn't particularly care for. What is it? Atlantis?
Oh, Atlantis. Yeah, that was underrated. Criminally underrated.
It was a very good show.
Yeah.
A very good movie.
Mike Mignola did the production work on that.
A lot of production
the design
work on that. Yeah.
Oh.
Criminally underrated.
I liked that more than I thought I was going to like it.
I like the James Cameron
it was
remake.
going against all of the, by that time it was going against, the Toy Story.
That's because there was death.
People were looking at, no matter what you did, it was, hand drawn was for kids.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was a big selling point that it was the first, new 2D animated movie since blah, 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 because they started doing all the Pixar stuff. And then, they went and they did Atlantis, and it was like, wow, that's really good. I loved it.
I love the animation. It's top notch.
Then they did Treasure Planet, too, like not too long after that.
Oh, yeah.
It was after, right?
Huge
Yeah.
flop.
I like the animation, but it wasn't as good.
I've never even
Animation
I've
was
never
good.
even heard of that Treasure Planet.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't
It's
heard of
Treasure
Planet?
Island in space.
Yeah.
No, never heard of. Never.
It's very
Yeah.
it's
Silver.
steampunk is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is sad because I like steampunk, but that movie just didn't work.
Huh.
I wonder how much they leaned on Treasure Island, the Disney film,
Well,
because
that's a
there was
classic,
a Disney
so,
Treasure Island.
yeah.
Yeah.
Long
Did
John
you guys?
Silver.
Do you know the story of the Little Mermaid poster, and the guy that painted the poster was fired because of what he did?
I had that VHS. Yes.
I also
Johnny.
know about the priest in The Little Mermaid that was marrying them.
Are you
He was
familiar?
really happy to be there.
John looks
That
like
was-
John looks like
that's
he doesn't know what
bogus.
we're talking about.
No, I don't. No.
There's
You
a
know,
penis
there's a
involved.
period of time where I'm no longer. It's kind of like I hold enough teeth. I don't have to go to the dental convention.
Yeah. the Little Mermaid on the cover of
Especially
the
when
Little
the
Mermaid.
groupies are there. I don't have
Right.
to go there. Yeah.
Right.
On the cover of the Little Mermaid, there was a
Penis.
tumultuous castle. That's the word that supposedly was
Yeah,
very.
It's a phallic
Phallic.
symbol instead of
Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of the
a
word.
turret.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
It's done in
Yeah.
a way that if you don't know it's there, you don't notice it. But if you
Right.
know it's there, it's really hard not to miss.
Right. And it's
But
got all the
the
way through.
the
edited.
priest thing, if you look, he kind of bends down, so it's his knee. It's not his other
No.
thing.
It's a coincidental.
To explain this, thanks a lot, Mitch.
What?
So I guess it's safe to say John's never hit anything in his animation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I said, is it safe to say you never hit anything in your animation days?
No, I showed it right up there. I mean,
There you go.
have you seen my books, my comic books?
No, your animation.
Well, that's usually
back
just
in the day.
yeah, but that's out
What are
there
you
though.
saying?
It's not hidden in the background.
Well,
Yeah.
when Cindy comes out from the chute, you see her ass first coming out.
See, there you go. He said,
You know, the first introduction is her swinging. You know, as her legs comes out and she's swinging back and forth. You know, and then comes out. That's
There
her
you
first introduction.
I suppose.
Hello, nurse.
Well, that's what they
But there's
always
also boobs in The Rescuers.
What?
that, okay, that one.
Wait a minute.
yeah.
Wait a minute. That sounds like a Laurel and Hardy title. Boobs in the Rescuers.
To the rescue.
It was
could
like
be,
in a
but-
window
yeah.
in the background,
Yeah.
and it's actually a picture. It's not even an animation. It's actually like
Yeah.
an image.
It's a still from a movie, from like some magazine or something they clipped out and put
Oh,
at the background.
Well, it's like that. There's a
No one
scene
will
like-
notice.
huh?
No one will notice.
Oh, we know
Well,
now.
yeah, everybody seemed to notice. That's the thing about it. That's why you have all this controversy. Just like the Lion King, the word "sex" in the when he lays down and the stuff comes up. But there was some of that was just really unfounded. Like I do think that the priest was a knee, but like the Aladdin one where they say Aladdin says, "Okay, kids, take off your clothes." He's talking to the tiger, and the tiger's kind of roughing him up. So it was I can't remember what he actually says there, but they just take that stuff and they just run with it. It's like they just kind of pick apart anything just to find something.
It's like Wizard of Oz. They say there's a midget hung himself, but if you see the actual footage that they point out, it's one of the cranes in the background flapping its wings.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard. Like you have to really stretch to
I
say
just
that's
see a
it.
midget flapping his arms
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when he's.
Yeah, you really have to try to make that look. You gotta think that's I'm sorry. Short person, a munchkin. One of the munchkins was supposed to have killed himself, and he didn't.
They don't
Have
like
to
the word
stretch,
munchkin either. So
Oh no, I did hear that. I did
Well,
hear.
I
there
can't
was like
believe I said that without thinking.
Well, no,
of
but
the
they are
I'm like,
munchkins. They are munchkins in Wizard of Oz. They're called munchkins. That's the name of the. That's the name of the.
we're gonna piss
the
off
race.
Peter Dinklage. Be careful.
He's already
We're
pissed
already
off
talked
every
about Snow
short
White and
actor
Seven
in
Dwarfs.
Hollywood. So
But really, so was it? I wonder though. So was the music? Okay, I understand for Snow White, the music was there for an emotional thing, and that was probably the case. I wonder when it came, was it just about emotion, or did it become like, was it just to sell records?
well,
But
for Snow
I
White,
feel
it was
standard.
basically part of the story.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the film.
It actually moved the story along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. That's what I'm saying. But I wonder if because after that, all the merchandising, they had merchandising of the vinyl and stuff like that. I wonder if some of the music that they started putting in these films, like say Mitch was talking about, they just open up their mouth and a song falls out, and because they want to sing about their feelings.
Disney wasn't working it that way, but maybe after at a certain point,
I think it depends on the film. Personally,
yeah.
Like Frozen, that was all about selling Let It Go, and Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Little Mermaid, that went with the story. You can convey your emotions in the songs. You could feel that she wanted to be part of something bigger than what she was.
Well, I guess the thought about that is because you take something like Oliver and Company, you take Lion King, and now you're incorporating, which is nothing wrong with that because I'm not. This has nothing to. I'm probably about to say something. I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but you had Billy Joel and you had Elton John, and they were included in that. And I wonder if that decision was because Oliver and Company did not sell many records. I don't even think it sold many videos.
I keep forgetting that's a Disney movie.
Stop. Just stop.
I think that after a certain time, it just kind of became like the Disney style.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you made a movie based on a fairy tale and you make it a musical.
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of became. Yeah,
Oliver and Company was the last one before Bob Iger took over, and then there was nothing for a few years, and then we got Little Mermaid.
No.
Eisner took over in in 84, 85, and they didn't know what to do with the animation department. They were going to shut it down.
What?
And it wasn't until they did the Great
Mouse Detective,
The Mouse Detective.
I
love that movie.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
No singing in that one.
There is a few.
Is there?
Yeah.
I take it back.
But it's all part of the. They're not really necessarily singing about their feelings. It moves the story along. So, like I think there's like a bar song or something. Like
and Radigan, the villain, sings about like who he is at one point in the movie.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy.
Which is apparently Vincent Price singing. They didn't use
I like the Great Mouse Detective. But unfortunately, that was what, if I'm not mistaken, and I've been mistaken, but that was the first one animated feature for Disney. That's they leaned on the computer generated effects for the clock.
The clock, yeah.
Because that Beauty and the Beast scene when they walk into the dining room, that's
that's total.
Which is excusable, I guess.
And Aladdin when the mall was opening up, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I'll tell you, to be honest with you, but if you go back and you look at what Disney was doing even before Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, right.
It's a different show.
It was before Saturday Night Live, right? But it was still before Snow White, right?
Yeah.
If you go back and look at some of the animations, the shorts that they were doing, they could have done what they did with the computer generated stuff easily. Not easily for them, but
they probably would have taken forever.
The stuff that they were doing, that's
take a while now to make.
Yeah, no, that's it's a different style. It's a whole different thought process. You can't fake stuff with a computer because it's too logical. You can fake stuff with a pencil. You can there are things when you look at stuff and it's just suddenly it's gone, it's moved around a bit. Computers have to be too logical. There's a certain aspect to it that just doesn't work.
Depends on what you're writing.
That's what I'm saying. Like in that clock tower scene and the gears are moving. To me, I think that they could have animated that without using the computer and it would have been just as good.
Well, they used that as a money shot for, to actually give you something, that you didn't have before. I mean, that's a money shot. So
okay, yeah, I see that.
That's why they did that. But I mean, clock cleaners, with Goofy in the 1950s.
Right.
They had clocks before.
Right. That's what I was saying. Because I was saying even
You
before
wouldn't get
Snow
the same.
White, when
You
you go
couldn't
back
do
and
the
look at
same.
it.
You can't replicate that stiffness. I mean, Richard Williams has tried to do that. He did that with his with the Cobbler and the Thief, or Thief and the Cobbler. Did a lot of stuff of that sort. It's just amazing stuff. And one film that has there's practically no music in it. We didn't have it mentioned, and there's only one song in it. Is Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh yeah.
You don't think of it as a Disney thing.
Well, no, but even though I think it was released under Amblin, but even still, Roger Rabbit
film.
Was theirs. Yeah. It's a Disney film. I don't. It's like in association with the others, not really.
Yeah.
Jessica Rabbit is a Disney princess. Just get over
it. Yeah. And she had
God bless her.
She had a great song.
Yeah.
But to Rodney,
there was a song there.
She had some other great things too.
But Eisner was during the Renaissance. That was also the time that they did the Magical World of Disney remake. But what it was is Eisner was a businessman. The guy that was with him, the co-CEO with him, was a really strict business guy. Eisner was at least listened to people.
He seemed like a nice guy.
I liked Eisner, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a nice guy.
No.
But Frank Wells,
is
really was the driving force to keeping, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, of keeping animation. And that's why you see he passed in 93, 94, and that's why you see Lion King is dedicated to him. He was kind of the last heart of Disney.
Yeah.
He was like Eisner was more worried about the amusements and running Disney as a whole company. Wells was worried about the animation and creativity and everything. And once he passed, that was
And Jeff Katzenberg, he came in with Eisner, and when he broke after Lion King, he left off and went with Spielberg and Geffen.
I did
at DreamWorks.
After Lion King, there was one or two movies after Lion King that are good, I guess, but for the most part, like Hunchback of Notre Dame, I didn't get into that.
Yeah.
Pocahontas tried too hard, which was funny because a lot of people were thinking Pocahontas was going to be the next big thing, and the Lion King was kind of a, that's where you got, that's where you got sent. Oh, because correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there times where if you weren't doing something or they didn't think you were doing a well enough job, they would send you to work on another project?
I don't know. I liked Mulan and Hercules.
Huh?
I said I liked Mulan and Hercules. Those were great, but that's my opinion. So.
Mulan, yeah, absolutely. Mulan is a fantastic movie. Hercules is Hercules.
I liked it. I mean, they got the mythology wrong as hell, but I liked it.
Well, you never go to a Disney film expecting them to get that kind of stuff right.
We want accuracy.
Yeah, I don't remember Hercules killing his wedding guests in the Disney version.
There was a lot that Hercules.
As she sang because her job was a singer. How about Jessica Rabbit? But okay, so let me ask you this question now, and this goes out to the floor. Would Walt be on board with this live action remakes of animated movies?
I think
the quality.
Depends. To be honest with you, to an extent, I feel like he would have put more animation in the live action, like have the live action, but have say Cinderella whenever they're making her dress or whatever, like it would be animated instead of CG. I think it would have combined the best of both worlds if his head was still kicking today. So
Can I go next because I have to
Yes,
leave?
please. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think he would have been he would have been doing something else totally, because he's always once he conquered something, he went on to something else. When he was doing his he started when he started with the animation, he was looking for some new project, some new thing to do. He would have been doing something else. He might have been doing, he would have probably figured out how to do auto animatronics. He would have already figured out how to replace all the live actors.
Well, they're already doing that.
I believe that.
Well,
so that's who's behind it at Disney. That's who's doing.
When you get into the history of the man, I could totally believe that. I could see it. So anyway, go ahead, John. Let us know where we can find you, sir.
You can find me on Sketchy Saturdays with Rodney and with C Michael, and we're and a bunch of other crazy guys. And you can find me here on YouTube with my own channel and on Facebook. And right now, I'm getting ready to take care of my crowdfunding in January because right now it's too crazy to put anything in the mail.
Oh yeah, here you.
But anyway, I'm working on the next book, and so that's where we are.
All right. Well, thanks for coming tonight.
I enjoyed it very much. I hope I didn't drag you down too much and. I didn't out too much of the clouds.
Jared solved that problem.
That's my job. If you want to be brought down, that's me. I'm here.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Hey. All right. Oh, he disappeared away. Rodney, it's your turn.
Hey, guys. I am Rodney Fyke. Says so right there. You can find me, again, on the Indie Comics Network on Thursday night Throwdown. Actually, next Thursday, John will be on with us. So tune in for that.
Yeah, this week, huh?
What's that?
Said he has a busy week this week. So
he's got a busy week, yes. And then, again, Sketchy Saturdays, 10 a.m. on Saturdays right here at the Indie Comics Network. Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, all that good stuff. Rodney Fyke Art. And Hazzum.com, HAZZUM.com. Check out all of our books. All right.
All right.
And I'm Jared. Says so right there.
No, on the other side. There you go.
It's right here on my screen. It's right here.
Think like a mirror. There you go.
So, yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Jared Lockhart8080@gmail.com. I'll be here every Tuesday, God willing. I got some things I'm working on, too. So,
all right. Mitch?
You can find me down here at Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios. You can find my website, online comics, online store, socials, and everything else.
Right. You see, Mitch has it right because he has it all the way across. You should come up with something. Jared Lockhart, the something. That way you can just do this. Just go. Yeah. You can find me right there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm C Michael Lanning. Of course, you can find me back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find some comics that I have. Calico Shard is now available on arrowcomics.store. You can check that out. And, of course, next week, we'll be talking about Disney's family features. And yes, there was live action before they decided to make everything animated live action. And we're going to talk about some of the classics that they have there.
So much good stuff.
I'm telling you, I'm sure Rodney remembers a lot. Anyway, so with that, we're going to let you go, but I apologize for what you're about to see.
Town full of little people waking up to say, what's good?
What's good?
What's good? Get your tail out of the street! There go Bonquisha, she would tray like always. He on the down low, I can tell. Every morning just the same, since the morning that we came to this busted wretched town. Good morning, Cletus.
Where you going?
The weave shop? I just saw the most wonderful updo with some finger waves and some micro braids.
That's nice. Up the tree. Want my brownies? Hurry up.
Hey, little mama, can I get them digits so I can hit you on your cell? Yo, let me get it though.
Her beauty ain't all that,
but her booty is real fat.
No denying she a bougie girl that bell. What's good?
What it do?